residents across 3 states are on high alert this morning, with warnings of heavy rain and flash flooding stretching from New South Wales to Tasmania. We'll have coverage from right across the country this morning.
Starting with Monty Bobble, who's in Devonport in Tasmania, and Joe Woodburn is in Orange in regional New South Wales. Joe, starting with you, regional New South Wales is bracing for even more rain.
That's right, Michael. The forecast is for more rain in the Lachlan Valley, which is one of the key areas of concern for the State Emergency Service. The focus has really shifted to Forbes today. For the past few days, that town had been expecting moderate flooding, which would still have caused problems in low-lying areas of the town. But now that's been revised up to major flooding, and the flood peak is expected either later tonight or tomorrow morning. The Lachlan River, which runs through the town of Forbes, is now expected to reach 10.6 metres, which is just above the major flood peak. A number of parts of the town, the south, western and eastern areas which flank the river, are now subject to prepare to evacuate orders. So that's really getting people on standby, making sure that they're packed and ready to go if an evacuation order is issued. The SES says it will monitor the situation today, how the river's behaving, how much water's coming down, as to whether or not an evacuation order will actually be issued today ahead of the flood peak tomorrow. In Wagga Wagga, it's reached moderate flooding overnight. The Murrumbidgee peaked at around about 9.1 metres, which is slightly less than it was predicted to reach, 9.3. But with this rain band coming through sodden catchments across New South Wales, but particularly in the Lachlan and Murrumbidgee regions, the SES is expecting that we'll see renewed river rises, and it will just prolong the flooding. The Forbes district, for example, has been experiencing flood conditions on some level for about a year. So a year ago, I was here talking to you about the major flood peak expected in Forbes. Now we're back again, but farmers haven't really seen a significant difference in conditions.
Yeah, which is pretty disappointing. Joe, thank you. Let's bring in now Luke Radford. He's in Bridgewater in Victoria. Luke, what's happening where you are?
Good morning, guys. Well, across most of central Victoria, we've seen heavy falls that have continued throughout the night, and they're going to continue throughout the rest of today as the rest of this system moves through. Now, there are two main areas of concern that we're focusing on in this part of the world. The Loddon River, which is the river right behind me here, and the Campaspe River, which is on the other side of Bendigo to the east. Now, the falls around the Loddon haven't been quite as heavy as the falls in some of the Campaspe catchment areas, but they have been quite serious. And of course, the Loddon River has previously, even in the last sort of couple of months or so, been up quite high. They've been venting water coming out of the Lamcurry Reservoir, which is further up from here. That's been sitting at over 100% capacity for the best part of the last month. And the last time we checked, it was sitting at 125%. So that water is flowing downstream. It's then spreading out from there across the floodplains. We've seen it this morning coming out from Bendigo already. Everything is saturated. The water is flowing straight off any ground it's hitting and into any creek, which is then flowing into the rivers themselves and passing across. And of course, all of that flows towards the Murray. And as it heads down those waters, it then spreads out across that landscape. And we had a similar flood back in 2011, a very serious one. And at its widest, that was almost 50 kilometres across. Now, whether or not we'll get to that, we can't say. It depends on how the water goes from this point. But we are primed for a pretty serious event.
Luke, thank you. So, Monty, in Tassie, what's happening in northern Tasmania, where you are this morning?
Morning, Michael. Yeah, certainly it's a very significant rain event hitting here in Tasmania. This is the Mersey River behind me here. It's a very, this is one of the key hotspots for flooding over the coming hours and the coming day or so. I would have been underwater here in the 2016 event. That bridge behind me would have been completely underwater, and unfortunately the authorities are saying that the conditions over the coming days may lead to similar conditions like we saw in 2016. This river is certainly being flowing very quickly right now. You can see creeks filling up around here. Latrobe is where I am, and that's likely going to be affected, and people here are certainly preparing. We've seen farmers moving their livestock to higher ground. We've seen people moving their belongings to higher places in their homes. They're doing everything they can to prepare. We're seeing some areas receive up to 300 millimetres of rain today. Certainly the flood threat here is likely to be, extend over the day. We're likely to see moderate flooding here this afternoon and possibly major into tonight and into tomorrow as well. Certainly a very nervous wait for many people here in northern Tasmania. Multiple rivers, multiple warnings already issued. Certainly it's a very nervous wait for a lot of people here.
It is indeed. Monty, Luke and Joe, appreciate your updates from various parts of the East Coast. Thank you.